Yes, ladies and gentlemen, we are back here on In the Huddle, and it's going down. We are going to the NBA real quickly here. Looking ahead to the playoffs, which is here, is literally here. We are in the playoffs right now. Basically, when you think about it, I wanted to say something creative and have a creative topic, because there's a lot of pressure when you're in the playoffs. It's not the regular season, okay? The regular season, you have 82 games to fool around, okay? You do. Right, you have a lot of breathing room. I done seen the Celtics struggle, go 25 through 50 games, looking like they ain't gonna make the playoffs. But then guess what? Lo and behold, they were the number 2 seed. Okay, so you have a little wiggle room. But come playoff time, it's a different ball game. There's no wiggle room. You have to play on a game-to-game basis, or you will be going home. Okay, so there's a lot of pressure, and therefore I present this question to the masses and to us here on the show. Let's give our top 5 NBA players under the most playoff pressure. And Zach, I would love to do the honors here with my top 5 right now. At number 5, I'm going to go Kevin Durant right off the rip. Okay, the most pressure. Listen, this guy has suffered an Achilles injury, okay, upon coming to Brooklyn, and immediately had to shoulder the load of this whole entire offense since he's came back to the court. Okay, when I look at a doctor and I got some intel from a doctor, I'm not a doctor myself, and guess what? I don't plan on being one, and I don't try to be one. But a birdie and a doctor told me, I have a doctor brother, my oldest brother, Dr. Shakir. Salute, brother. I had a brother that told me, my real brother, that when you get hurt, okay, from an Achilles injury, you're susceptible to more injuries after that. Okay, and this guy has been playing crazy amount of minutes, and you wonder why, as sometimes he's getting hurt. Like this year when he was missing through that stint because of a calf injury. Okay, but guess what? Upon coming back, he had to take on 40 minutes per game. Okay, there's a lot of pressure on KD. Let's not forget this guy left the Warriors, a team that he won a championship with. Okay, a team that he got to a finals with. Okay. 3 finals he got there with, okay, 2 championships to be exact, okay, and he left that organization because he didn't feel justified because of that move that he made to go there in the first place, okay, so that's why he decided to take his boy Kyrie Irving and start something in Brooklyn. And right now, Brooklyn has been, when you talk about the last couple years, been a disaster. Was supposed to win at least 1 championship. They won none. And KD is the leader. He is the MVP of this team. And that's why if they fail, it falls a lot on Kevin Durant. I got him at number 5. A lot of pressure. He's still going to have to put up minutes crazily. And, he's been putting up minutes in the regular season. So let's see how his mileage lasts during the playoffs. At number 4, I'm going to stay in Brooklyn. I'm going Kyrie Irving next. And the reason why I'm going Kyrie Irving over Kevin Durant, which may seem controversial to a lot of people, is right off the rip. Going up against his former team, the Celtics, first round of the playoffs, bro. It's going to be Kyrie versus the fans. And even though, you got KD, you got your guys over there, you're in an isolated situation, bro. When them fans is booing you every time you touch the ball, it's not the fans versus the Nets. It's the fans versus you. You in your own world. You're in your own world, especially when the fans is booing you. Okay, let's not forget, you stepping on the logo. There's going to be a lot of animosity, okay, against you when you play the Celtics. So there's a lot of pressure for Kyrie Irving. He's leading the league in minutes right now, averaging 42 minutes per game. And, nobody feels sorry for him because he was no time, then he was part-time, and then he was full-time, and now he's showtime. Let's see if he continues to be showtime in the playoffs. But there's going to be a lot of pressure on Kyrie Irving off the rip against the Celtics, a team that wants to defeat Kyrie Irving and send him home. They want revenge. They sent the Celtics home last year. The Celtics is going to be wanting to do the favor in return for the Nets. So that's why I got Kyrie Irving just a little ahead of the net, Kevin Durant here on this list. At number 3, I'm going to go Luka Doncic, okay? When I look at Luka Doncic, bro, he is the entire offense of the Mavericks, okay? I like the fact that this year, okay, when you think about getting a guy like Spencer Dinwiddie that was supposed to help out a little bit, and he's been doing good. He's been helping out Luka a lot. But right now, we all know that this offense is Luka-centric. It revolves around Luka, and now he got an injury, a calf injury, because his coach, Jason Kidd, wanted to play him, okay, late in a game that didn't matter in the season finale. Okay, so even when he got to come back, even when he comes back, Let's say he comes back game 1, game 2, game 3, or whatever. Those things linger, bro. Those calf injuries linger. And he's going to have to continue to be that guy for this team in order for his team to have a chance. You talk about pressure. There's a lot of pressure. Not to mention that he has not got out of the first round in his NBA career. 2 years back-to-back, you lose in the first round. You cannot make it 3 years back-to-back. That's not a good sign, especially on paper. When I look at this matchup, excluding everything I know now, this was a matchup they should win against a Jazz team that's deteriorating. And now Luka Doncic is going to have to come back immediately, whatever's left of him, and put it all out there on a basketball court for them to win and have a chance. There's a lot of pressure on Luka Doncic, and that's why I got him at number 3. At number 2, I'm going to go Chris Paul. Listen, he hasn't won a championship yet. Okay, a lot of people has been egging him on to win one, but he had opportunities. Nobody's feeling sorry for Chris Paul here on the show. At least I'm not. Okay, you had an opportunity with the Rockets. You got hurt. Boom. Okay, you had an opportunity last year, and y'all choked against the Bucks going up 2-0. And y'all choked. Y'all lost every single game after that. Okay, like, listen. At the end of the day, Chris Paul, we want to see you win a championship. He has a lot on his plate, but there's no excuses because, I mean, you do got Devin Booker out here balling like an MVP. He should have been in MVP discussions. He got flat out disrespected. Okay, the guy's a walking bucket. He's a hooper, and he's a trooper. Okay, because he galvanizes his squad. You also got Mikal Bridges, who's one of the underrated defenders in this league, and he can get a bucket too. He's been one of the most just underrated players in the NBA this season, in my honest opinion. You also got DeAndre Ayton. He played good last year in the playoffs. Played really well last year. Actually upped this game in the playoffs. And guess what? He didn't get his money. He won his bag. I expect him in the playoffs this year to have that same, replicate that same level of performance. Okay, getting rebounds, putbacks, whatever they ask him to do, he will do. So you got a squad. And you are the number 1 seed in the East. In the Western Conference, excuse me. There's no excuses for you not. Okay, everybody else except the Grizzlies have holes on their team. Everybody, except for the Grizzlies, have holes on their team. You need to win that game, and plus you're the more experienced. You've been down this road before. I'm not expecting nothing less. CP3, the pressure is on you at number 2. At number 1, I'm going to go with James Harden. I think this is unanimous in my brain. We'll see if Zach makes this unanimous. I think it's James Harden. First of all, this guy's a character. He's a character, bro. Listen, he requested to leave 2 organizations in 2 years. Where they do that at? Listen, I'm not mad because, we all been in situations that we didn't like. I requested to transfer from a school in middle school and high school. But guess what? I only did it one time. And I knew even if I ain't liked the new school, I was staying in that new school till I graduated because I wasn't going to do it again because it's going to make me look like an asshole in my house. Okay, James Harden, the Rockets, I want out. Okay, go to Brooklyn. Go to Brooklyn, bro. You go to Brooklyn, you didn't even unpack your bags, and you ready to jet because Kyrie Irving was part-time and Kevin Durant was injured, and you didn't even have the courtesy to realize that, listen, these guys are coming back. Let's throw caution in the wind there. Maybe the mandates change. Maybe Kevin Durant career's not over. No, I want out. Get me to Philly. Okay, you in Philly now, and everybody think this 2 tandem right here with Joel Embiid and James Harden is going to be a top 5 duo in the league, a top duo in the league. People was arguing. Okay, now the pressure is on you. The ball is in your court. What you going to do with it? And I just don't think I don't see nobody having more pressure than James Harden because of his playoff repertoire, which is not showing up. Not just sending in a body double to play basketball and hooping, because that wasn't the James Harden that we know in the regular season. So he has the most pressure right now, and that's why he's number 1 for me. So to recap my list, at number 5, I'm going Kevin Durant. At number 4, I'm going Kyrie Irving. At number 3, I'm going Luka Doncic. At number 2, I'm going CP3. At number 1, I'm going James Harden. These are my top 5 NBA players under the most playoff pressure this season. Zach, I pass the rock to you.
Yeah, well, that's a very good list. A lot of good reasons. We have some similar names. So without further ado, let's get into it. So one guy that I'm going to have on my list that you did not have on your list is Rudy Gobert. He's number 5 for me. And I think this Jazz situation is interesting because, not going to lie, like, you remember, I was really high on this team last year. And I know last year it was kind of like a jaded season. Like, it was just a shortened season with no fans. Now we're back to the normal schedule, playing real basketball. And the Jazz, they had a nice start. They obviously are secure in the playoffs. They may have caught in a break with the Mavericks, but man, like, things are deteriorating quickly. I'm hearing Quinn Snyder's names in Lakers rumors. I'm hearing that Donovan Mitchell just isn't happy, and the Jazz just continue to blow game after game, and he's being quoted on the court saying it's the same thing over and over and over again after they were blowing leads to the Clippers last year in the playoffs. And it really all started when COVID and Rudy Gobert is out here touching the microphone. And I understand that Rudy is not the perfect player. He's had his fair share of playoff struggles, and for a defensive player of the year, that should always be a guy that is on the floor for you late in games, but he could get exposed sometimes. And I do think this is the last ride for this Jazz team. If they lose in the first round to a banged up Luka, like, things are coming to an end, they might want to blow this thing up. The Jazz are, a small market team. I think this core in this group over the last couple of years have done a really good job in the regular season in getting to the playoffs, but they just haven't really been able to get over that hump yet. And I think Rudy's the difference maker. If him and Donovan Mitchell could ever get back on the same page, like, the Jazz could easily beat Dallas. I just don't know if that's going to happen. So Rudy, he's under a lot of pressure for me. I would have him at number 5. At number 4, I'll go to the other bench on the court in this series, the guy you had on your list in Luka Doncic for really the same reasons, man. Like, I think this guy is good enough to be one of the 2 or 3, maybe the best player in the NBA sooner rather than later. He's that skilled offensively, just the way he sees and feels and develops a thought for the game. It's really impressive, and he's a big point guard. He gets in the lane. He has a very high basketball IQ, and I agree, like, Dinwiddie was a solid pickup, but the Mavericks don't have a ton of talent around him, and if he's hurt, I'm kind of worried about Dallas in this series, but there's a lot of pressure on him. He's had some – I know he's played well against the Clippers, but that's always been a team with Kawhi Leonard and Paul George on the floor. He wasn't really expected to win those series, but this is the first time in his career where the pressure is really on him. It was clear him and Porzingis and him and Rick Carlisle, like, that, those weren't going to work, and the Mavs really – they said, hey, man, you're our franchise. We're going to do whatever you want. They bring in Jason Kidd. They bring in Dinwiddie, get rid of Porzingis. So I think there's a lot riding on him for this Dallas Maverick team. I would have him at number 4. At number 3, I would have Kevin Durant, and I wouldn't put Kyrie Irving, much far behind, honestly, because I think from an off-the-court perspective, yes, Kevin Durant, he's a very polarizing player. He always is talking on Twitter. He's not really the most likable guy or the guy you always feel like you want to root for, but he's very good at basketball. And when it comes to the Nets, like, my thing is this, man. I think him and Kyrie are under a lot of pressure because if they don't play well, the Nets aren't beating anyone. Like, we saw what happened last night in the playing game. They were, like, off the floor for like 3-4 minutes, and all of a sudden that's when the Cavs are going on their big runs. That was really concerning for me. Seth Curry's banged up. We're going to get more into that, the deeper specifics of the series, but that's really my thing, man. Like, if Durant and Irving are either not on the floor, which Kyrie, like, whether we like it or not, he's been hurt in the playoffs the last couple of years. And the reality is he's had no success in the playoffs without LeBron. And it's a lot for him. Like, you had both of them on your list. Like, Kyrie just missed for me, but I kind of put these two next to each other, man. Like, there's a lot of pressure on both of them. And if one of them fails, the Nets aren't going to go far. And that's a lot of pressure for only 2 guys. I think it's a very polarizing and interesting situation in Brooklyn, no doubt. So I would have those two guys next to each other at number 3. At number 2, you got to go with CP3, especially after the way last season ended. And I understand the Suns won the first 2 games of the finals last year, and the Bucks ended up winning the next 4. And, like, I guess you could classify that as a choke, but I just thought the Bucks were the best team, man. Like, that team was so good, and they were the more deserving team at the end of that series, in my opinion. But I look at this year, there's no doubt that the Suns are the best team in the NBA. And in my opinion, there's no doubt that, like, they should probably win a title. This is going to be Chris Paul's time. It better be, because if it's not, when is it ever going to happen? And I think the interesting thing is, like, the critique against Chris Paul in years past has been, he gets hurt in the playoffs every year. Last year as well, he literally just ran out of gas, and that's when the Suns fell apart. But it's interesting, like, this year, if he gets hurt, I'm not counting the Suns out either with Booker and Ayton and Bridges. Like they have the depth, they have the guys. So I think when they're healthy, especially with CP3, it's their title to lose in my opinion. But there is a lot of pressure on him because he's one of the best point guards of all time, one of the 5 or 7, 6, 7 best point guards of all time, and he deserves a ring, man. I'm a huge fan of his game, of his attitude. Every team he's been to, especially early, the team could be terrible. The Oklahoma City Thunder were trying to tank. And they get him, and he ruined their plans of tanking. And they were like, screw it, get out of here. Like, we don't want you anymore. We'll take the Suns draft picks. And they've turned into a final contender. It's their time, man. It better be his time. He would be at number 2. And for number 1, we're on the same page. We have to go with James Harden. But honestly, like, I would put Joel Embiid not too far behind, too. It's his team as well. And I think this is such a fascinating matchup with the Raptors. Like, you look at it from a talent perspective, Harden and Embiid, Philly should win. Doc Rivers, like, it should be their time, but we're going to get into our predictions and what we think about that series later. Like, I do not think the Sixers are a lock or a guarantee to win that series at all. And James Harden, he's had his playoff struggles. Like, I can't deny that. And he hasn't played well since got to Philly, if we're being honest. And I was very impressed with him, like, last year in the playoffs. I know that he didn't go off and he didn't lead the Nets to a series victory, but I've always gotten the sense with Harden, like, he has his flaws, but he always loves basketball, and he's going to be available most of the time, 100% when he's not quitting on his team, and he can't quit on this team anymore with Philly after doing it a couple times in the last few years. But, man, like, this is a guy that loves basketball. The thing I respect about him is, like, when you walk into a gym and you see LeBron, you see Kevin Durant, it's no secret as to why they're great basketball players when you look at their body. But James Harden literally just became great by taking advantage of a rule change and a rule that could be questionable, and really created and developed his own style of play. And I think other people in the league have caught on to it a little bit. I think he's maybe lost a step or two, just getting up there in age. But this is going to be one of the last runs for him. And in Philly, man, like, a first-round exit would mean a lot, just in terms of the future of him in Philly, the future of the team in Philly, Doc Rivers' future in Philly. I think the Sixers, just as a team in general, honestly, just have a lot on the line, especially in this first round. So we're on the same page for the most part. In the top 5, I would have Rudy checking in at number 5 for me. I would have Luka Doncic checking in at number 4. We got KD and Kyrie really right there up with him at number 3. CP3 at number 2. And at number 1, the beard, James Harden.
I think when you go back to that trade of the 76ers and the Nets, you can argue, though, that whole core from both teams can make this top 5. All of them. Kyrie, KD, James Harden, Ben Simmons, and Joel Embiid. You can literally put all 5 of those guys in this list and make that a list, because we can't forget about Ben Simmons. Let's say he does come back, because we don't know. We don't have an intel on if he's playing or not. Me, I lean more towards no, but you never know. He may be playing. He posted up an Instagram picture, with his shoes, and on the court. So I'm guessing that means something. I don't know what that's supposed to mean, but I'm guessing that means that he's playing, whatever that means. You know how social media is. But when you look at Ben Simmons, another reason why he's a sleeper, because if he does play, let's not forget, the last time we saw Ben Simmons on the court, it was not pretty at all. He was bypassing open layups, okay, bunnies, okay? He was bypassing that. And you talk about the fact that he did not play at all. And you're talking about not playing no regular seasons with your new team at all. Not playing the regular season at all. Not having that chemistry yet. And now you have to go in there and try to fit in. And it's not like Ben Simmons is really a traditional guy that you could just plug in there and play. Like, you have to tell your team to fit Ben Simmons. And if you're going to do that in the playoffs, and that is going to be an adjustment. Granted, the Nets still need Ben Simmons, and I will take that risk rather not because of his defense, but that's still something that you're going to have to live and die by the sword of Ben Simmons. And I think that's pressure, especially on a guy that showed you the last time he was not built for that moment at all. So I think he's worthy of being in this consideration, especially if he does play. But I do think because James Harden is there, a lot of people is going to look at James Harden, and even though they're going to criticize Embiid, he's not going to take that full-on flack. And I don't think he will, because I think he's going to put up numbers regardless. It's James Harden that's probably going to be the one to hold them back when it's all said and done. I like Rudy Gobert at number 5. I think if we had to go for a team, I'll put the Jazz team up there high. You know, when you talk about Donovan Mitchell and Rudy Gobert never being on the same page ever since COVID happened, okay, it seemed like that disconnected and created a mutual disconnect between the two. That was the spark of it, and then it just transferred to on the court. And when I look at this, you know, Jazz team, I know what I'm going to get. They don't offer nothing new. You know, they play that old-fashioned style of basketball. They sometimes win in the regular season. This year they wasn't doing that pretty much, especially towards the end. They till it off. But it's like, you know, I know what I'm going to get with them. They're going to have a lead. They're going to blow that lead. Okay, so, you know, I think they have a lot of pressure as an overall team, and Rudy Gobert is a microcosm of that. So I like your list. I think your list is pretty solid. We got the same top two, and I think unanimous top two, honestly, across the board if we ask other people. So, yeah, Zach, any last words?
Yeah, one more thought on Harden. I just think it's interesting just throughout his career. Like, I understand he's been a bad playoff player, if we're being honest, and he needs a big moment with Philadelphia. And it's just interesting when you combine that angle with the Doc Rivers and Embiid angle, like how last season ended, considering they gave up Ben Simmons for him. I think it's interesting, and honestly, I've been very underwhelmed by Harden's performance since he got to Philly. Like, I'll admit, I like the trade from a Philly perspective. Ben Simmons was never going to play there ever again, and I honestly, if I were the Sixers, like, I would have been tempted to trade Ben Simmons in July as soon as the playoff incident happened. And I thought, oh, James Harden, like, they're not going to get a better player than that. And sometimes, like, a situation will crumble like that where the best you could do, it still doesn't work out, and maybe that's where the situation is trending. But I just find it interesting that James Harden, all the pressure is on him in more ways than one, and historically he has not been good under pressure, so it's scary.
I mean, he has question marks. Doc Rivers as a coach, X's and O's and strategy-wise, just trying to make second half adjustments. He's not that guy. He's not a Tyronn Lue. If Tyronn Lue was coaching this team, I feel more confident about how far this team could go, not getting into my predictions or anything. You know, I think this team could make a finals possibly if they had a guy like Tyronn Lue. Some guy that knows how to make the second half adjustments necessary to win basketball games, the little minor changes. If your best player is being blitzed, okay, you know how to, react to that. Okay, you know it's the next man up. You know how to get them the ball. I don't think Doc Rivers has that intel anymore. You know, if ever, you think about the one championship that he won. That was a long ass time ago, bro. I didn't almost go to bed since then, bro. Like, it's a long ass time ago. So I don't trust Doc Rivers in crucial situations. I don't trust James Harden in the playoffs. And I think when you add that recipe, we may get some infernos going on here. So we'll see what happens, Zach. But that's our top 5 players under the most precious list right there. And feel free to react on Can You Dig Sports. Drop a comment, drop a DM. Let me know how you feel about this list, who we miss, who you like, and things of that nature.
The Can You Dig It Sports Radio Network is here. Revolutionize the game of media. Be a dig.